Welcome back. Well, Russian forces began mercilessly shelling Ukraine on February the 24th, the day that President Putin launched his full-scale invasion. But hours later, Imran Khan shook his hand and sat down for talks in the Kremlin. How does he justify that? Does he now regret it?
I promise you, I had no idea. I arrived the night before. I was only there for one night. Next morning when I wake up, I discover that this Ukraine adventure had started. Now, it was, we discussed amongst ourselves. We realized that there was very poor timing. But at the same time, we realized that it was extremely important for the 220 million people of Pakistan that we actually get these. I mean,
I understand
these deals
that.
done
I understand.
I
completely understand that you didn't know before you made the trip. I guess the criticism, which may be legitimate, is that once you knew what he'd done, to then stay there and still go through with the meetings that you had planned, sent the world a message that you were not that upset by what he was doing in Ukraine.
Countries like us, who have huge populations, and we have, 100 million people who are vulnerable right now. So we should actually make policies, have relationship with everyone, but make policies that benefit our people.
No, I understand
just
that.
Just like what India is doing right now.
I understand that, Imran. What I would say back to that is we talked earlier about the higher morality standards in the UK when it comes to holding leaders to account. I simply would say I don't criticise you for having planned a trip to Moscow, but I think there is legitimate criticism that once you knew what he had done, it illegally invaded a sovereign democratic country. Did your moral instinct not tell you that it would be wrong to stay there, that you should have just got straight out of there?
Piers, I am against all military operations. I marched with those 2 million people in London against Iraq war. I constantly was against the Afghanistan war, that there was no military solution. I do not believe what Putin has done of trying to find a military solution in Ukraine. I always believe these are miscalculations. They cause a lot of hardship. And I did give a statement when I was in Moscow that military actions are not a solution. Unfortunately, we were left at the time was either we then, and by the way, the meeting was more or less an hour before when we discovered that they had invaded Ukraine. It was a question of 1 hour in between to decide whether we abandon the trip or have the meeting with Putin. And so eventually we decided that, look, at this stage, we will fall between two stools. With Russia, we will break all relationship, leaving at this juncture. And at the same time, is it going to make any difference if Pakistan decides to sort of condemn Russian invasion by leaving there?
Imran, are you in a position now to see what Putin has done in Ukraine and emphatically, publicly denounce it?
Any conflict, and especially where you go and any conflict creates bloodshed. But, just like in Iraq, in Afghanistan, God knows how many people died there. And similarly in Ukraine, going into Ukraine, the sort of what we are saying right now, I'm sure that if President Putin realized what was happening right now, he wouldn't have started this.
But do you personally condemn the war in Ukraine now, knowing what you've seen in the last 3 months?
Piers, let me just say one thing. I am basically against all operations. So if you want to ask me a question, do I condemn what is happening what happened in Iraq? I thought it was wrong, and I would condemn that. Afghanistan, US going in and then staying. Okay, once they got decimated Al-Qaeda in the first year, what was the purpose of staying there for the next 19 years? So it was a useless war. And yes, if I would advising President Putin, I would not have gone there. And yes, a war that creates bloodshed, and which it is, and collateral damage and civilians, yes,